Hey, how are ya? Welcome to another video. Thanks for checking it out, guys. As you would have seen in the name or the title of this video, I'm talking about my fuel vapor system. Now, if you're familiar with my videos, if you've been checking out my channel and see what I do, you'll know that I've been quite interested in a fuel vapor system where you don't run your car off conventional petrol or gas where it's just squirted into the, well, I'll save you the details for now. But instead of the conventional system, you turn the petrol into a vapor. And by using it into a vapor, it's now in a gaseous state. And instead of using a portion of that fuel to become energy, you'll be able to use a much higher percentage of that same amount of fuel to become energy, which gives you power in your car. So if you haven't checked out my other videos, this might be a little bit full on. So I might suggest heading over to my channel and checking out some of the other videos. But if you have been following along, or maybe you've come across this video because you've been watching heaps of other videos on fuel vapor systems and maybe HHO generators and people running their car off hydrogen and that sort of stuff, well then you'll be right at home. Excuse the rain, it's raining in my garage, it's just started pissing down, but anyways, we'll make do. Hopefully you can hear me alright. So, today I want to talk to you about the fuel vapor system that I'm going to build on my car. And I do want to note that it is different to the vapor systems that you may have watched in previous videos. The old videos in my lesser understanding of a fuel vapor system and what makes it work is I was heating up the fuel with a preheater, a fuel preheater, where you would take the fuel that comes from the tank and you would somehow heat that fuel. So you would either run it through some hot copper pipes that run around your exhaust, or maybe you got an actual preheater from a different car. Some of them have those. But yeah, you would try to heat up the fuel, mix it in with ambient temperature air, and then put those in. And it kind of works to a degree, but it's definitely not very efficient, and it's not a very good system. So I've evolved, I've learnt more, and now I'm going to show you guys how to build a fantastic system, and you'll be able to come along on the journey as I build it on my rig. Well, you can't see it at the moment because it just started raining, so I had to shut the door, but I've just got my car out there. So, what are we actually doing? Well, I've got a Nissan Navara D21 1999, a dual cab ute. It's a four-wheel drive. It's got a 2.4 litre four-cylinder engine, and it's called the KA24E. And I'm going to build a fuel vapor system. But before I can build a fuel vapor system in its entirety, I first got to turbocharge the engine. So there's going to be quite a few iterations as I build this up. So I'll run you through how it kind of works. I'll also bring you inside and you can check out some photos and some images, so it's not just talking, you can actually see diagrams, illustrations, and even photos of people that have built this before. Before I go on, I will make a note. I did not invent this. I'll be taking a pre-made, well, it's not a pre-made system. I'll be making a design that has already been made on a different car, but it will have the same principles, but it'll be very different on this Navara. And if you're planning on doing this on any car that's EFI, electronic fuel injection, as opposed to carbureted, you'll be different to what I'm going to show you inside. But also, every engine bay, every car has a different setup. So you're going to need different packaging to suit. So the bloke you'll see on the inside has got a V8. So if you've got a V-configured engine, you've got you've got a bank on each side of your engine with your exhaust ports. Whereas if you got a straight 6, they're all going to be on one side. In my case, I've got a straight 4, so they're all on one side. Or maybe you've got a Siamese port where your intake and your exhaust is on the same side. So in terms of packaging and how you're going to make it work in your engine bay, that's totally up to you. But between what I'm going to show you in my build plus what I'll show you inside, you should get a really good idea. So the guy's name is Michael Venosky. I'll have to double check that when we go in, but he's the bloke. He was the original inventor that built this. He's been doing this for a long time. He doesn't say how long exactly, but I'm sure it's at least a decade. I mean, I don't see how you could do what he's done in less than that. This guy has built 17 different iterations, versions of his fuel vapor system, trying all sorts from fuel heating and other kinds of things. And eventually he's landed on a system that works, that he's got in his car, that he uses today, and it's been running for 5 years. And it's awesome. I'll show you the stats on the inside, but he said he's times 4 his fuel economy, and he's increased his power as well, which is awesome. Best of both worlds. But anyways, enough of that. How is this system going to work? Well, for starters, I'll give you a bit of an introduction, a bit of an idea of how it's going to go. And then I'll show you some of the parts that I've got out on the table here. And like I say, some of the photos on the inside, that's going to give you the best idea. But this is the general gist. So, as I mentioned, previously we were trying to heat the fuel and mix that with air and hoping to get an awesome result. But you only get a limited result, even though you can do it, which is cool. If you want to see me build one of those systems, there's a video in my YouTube channel that talks about that. It's one of my first ones, so you have to go down a little bit and check that out. But anyways, the main difference is in this system, we're not going to be trying to only heat the fuel. We're going to heat it. We're going to get it a lot hotter than what we did in previous videos, but we're also going to heat with air. So I'll have a snorkel. I've got a 4-wheel drive, so I'm going to have a snorkel, come down the side of the car into an air box. It'll go out of the air box and go down like a dump pipe for the turbo, like that. It'll go down. It'll do a U-turn, come back up, and then as it's coming up, I'll have a custom built, probably by myself, a turbo dump pipe, but also heat exchanger. So the idea is that as the turbo spills out hot air, well, I should say as the engine, puts out hot gases, it's spinning that turbocharger, but then usually it's dumped, and then that's it. We're going to take that dumped air that's hot, and we're going to put it through a custom-built heat exchanger, which will then feed cold air through it. As it comes down, it'll come back up, feed cold air through it, and heat that air up. So you'll have the air box. Straight off the air box, you'll have an air temp sensor, so no ambient air, and then I'll have an injector, just one single injector, which will be ample, and I'll explain why later on in this video. But there'll be a single injector that will be connected into the stainless steel piping, much like how an O2 sensor would, or any other any other sensor would plug into, an exhaust system, or maybe your intercooler piping, that sort of thing. An injector will be fed into there and sprayed and controlled by an ECU. It'll then go through the heat exchanger, and that will heat up the fuel, turn it into a complete vapor. But the key important difference is you also need hot air, so that the fuel vapor can then mix with the expanded hot air. They fuse together. I don't know if fuse is the right word, but they combine together and become one homogeneous gas. So it's no longer air with fuel particles or fuel vapor. It's now one gas, and then that then goes through the heat exchanger into the turbocharger, out of the turbo into the engine, and does what any other car would do, or any other turbocharged car would do. So that's the general gist. If that seemed a bit confusing or maybe went over your head, don't worry, I will be explaining it more, and I'll be showing illustrations so it will be clear as day. So I've been collecting parts in anticipation, bits and pieces as I do research and whatnot. So I've got some stuff here on the table I'll show you quickly, but I want to get you inside so that I can show you this Facebook page that shows you all of the information on how to build a system if you're wanting to do it yourself. Okay, so this is my collection of parts. So I've got a head here. This is from a spare motor that I got. Got it apart. We've got the air intake with the throttle body on top, so it gives you a little bit of an idea. But again, I'll show you it in the car so you get a better idea later. But I've got a turbocharger with me, a boost controller. This is the original extractors that were on the car. And then I've bought this steam pipe, which I'll be able to make my own turbo manifold. But more on that later. Hey guys, so I brought you inside. I'm just sitting in front of my computer here, and I want to show you the Gasoline Vapour Systems Facebook page. This is the bloke Michael Vinosky. Apologies if that's not quite how you pronounce your name, Michael. Yeah, but the Facebook page that has just a whole group of people where he shares this information for free, encouraging others to do the same. And there's obviously a bunch of like-minded people on there. So I wanted to show you that because that's a really good resource to check out. So I'll switch you over to my screen. Okay, I'm hoping the screen shows up all right and that it's not too strange with, yeah, you know how it is sometimes when you record screens. So this is the Facebook page. As I mentioned, Gasoline Vapour Systems. So if you just search for that on Facebook, you'll find this page. So I've just gone down to photos because, you know, photos are going to describe things way better than, you know, what's it called? You know, what talking will. This is Michael, you know, calls himself an inventor, and well, he is an inventor, and has done this sort of stuff, so you can check him out if you want. I know some of my audience is Australian, a lot of them are American, so be right up your alley. So this is the fuel heat exchanger. Well, it's just a heat exchanger, really. This is the general concept you can see. So obviously you've got all of these small pipes. These little pipes, that's your actual air intake. That's where your air intake is. And they're tubes that run through the length of the heat exchanger. And then obviously your intake here, that's the hot exhaust gases coming through. They fill up everywhere in between I don't know if you can see my mouse thing, but you know, everywhere in between that goes through the heat exchanger and out. And then obviously as the air is passing through here and the exhaust is passing through here, it's heating up the chamber, it's heating up the steel and all of that material. And as your air passes through, it obviously gets heated with it. So you would have a carby and yeah, and it would get hot when you mix those two together. And there you can see the pipes on the inside. So yeah, as I say, your cold air is coming through here, exhaust gases come through here and go out here. He's obviously heat wrapped it. You want to get it as hot as possible. So yeah. I think it's a better photo. I should see if we can. Okay, so this one, yeah, this is a pretty good image. So he's got obviously your air intake and a bike carb. It's something like a Muniki or something like that. It sounds kind of Japanese. Little bike carb from a race bike, and yeah, he's had to dial in the jets to get it all correct. So it's not just fit and done. And then obviously the air passes through, goes into the heat exchanger, and that obviously heats up the air fuel mixture that's coming through, gets hot, and as I mentioned, the air and the fuel vaporizes, the air gets heated up, and it becomes one homogeneous gas that then feeds through your turbocharger impeller, and then directly into the head. Now, being a V8, this is a specific setup that suits him. What I'm going for is definitely not going to look like this because obviously my air intake isn't in the center like this. I can't put my turbocharger on top like this. But yeah, if you do have a V8, this is a really great solution. So I'll go through a bit more photos, but generally this is what happens. Obviously, when you've got a V8 or a V6, you've got two banks, one on each side of the engine block, and one bank. So if you've got a 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder, you know, you're going to have 3 or 4 cylinders per side to do 2 different jobs. These exhaust gases come through and they heat up their heat exchanger, do what they do as I just explained, and then obviously you can see the dump pipe. Well, I don't know, is it called a dump pipe when it's not turbocharged on this section? Anyways, the exhaust. And then on the other side, if there's a photo, here it is. The other side, this bank is dedicated to spooling up the turbo. So this is the hot side of the turbocharger, where obviously these feed in. You can see it's got an external wastegate here. It goes through and through this pipe, spins up your turbo, and now you have your dump up here. So it works out really well to obviously have a V8 configured engine. And well, that's the general gist. So yeah, he's got an aftermarket distributor, and so this is the thing. So he's gone old school. You know, he's got a big Chevy V8, you know, carbureted with the distributor, all that. Whereas I'm wanting to build something that's modern and EFI. So I'm wanting to do a distributor delete on my motor, my KA24E motor, and obviously get an aftermarket ECU to make the whole system run, and then I can do everything electronically, and that gives me the ability to tune it and modify things and do some really cool stuff. Because again, Michael's killed it with this stuff, but as far as I'm aware of what he's posted publicly, I haven't seen virtually anything that's electronic or digital, or aftermarket ECUs or anything, which means this is like a set and forget. Once you set your boost levels and your wastegate spring, that sort of stuff, then that's it. It is what it is. And then you obviously tune your carburetor to suit all of those different parameters. Whereas if I can tune mine, then I can have different tunes, I can have different different ways that things work, and I can check all that information electronically and control it. So that's really cool. Let's keep going through here. A bird's eye view. So obviously they're, I don't know if it's a planner, but the air intake at the top here is obviously centered. So his turbocharger's sitting right on top. You can obviously see the heat exchanger. But anyways, look, it's a great resource. That was someone else that did something. It's a great resource, so check it out. It's another view of his system that's installed in the car. So this is a I can't remember what year, but it's an old Chevy Camaro, and he's had this thing running and driving in his car for about 5 years now. And here's the cool thing. So from factory, in fact, let me pull it up so we can be very precise with it. Here's a schematic of how it works. So as I said, air is coming through here. That's the carby coming through the impeller. This bank then goes through and heats up the heat exchanger, and this bank here obviously goes through, spins the impeller, and does what it does. Okay, so this was really cool. I actually shared this post on my personal Facebook page. Let me just read it. My 1978 Camaro with a 350 cubic inch Chevy V8 engine, it initially got 11 miles per gallon. So let's just do some quick conversions here. No, that one. Litres per 100. So that's how we calculate things in Australia. So he says originally he got 11 miles per gallon highway mileage established by road testing. So not what the book said or what the commercial said, but what he actually got before the modifications and before the addition of the Vapour system. So 11 miles per gallon. Let's just check out what that is. Okay, so factory, he's saying, sorry, not factory. Before his modifications, the car was doing 21.38 litres per 100. So 21.4 litres per 100, which is, pretty thirsty. But I suppose it's a V8, so what do you expect? After the installation of my turbocharged gasoline Vapour system, the gas mileage of that same 1978 Camaro improved to 35.6 miles per, miles per gallon. So let's check that out. 35.6. 21.4 to 6.6 miles per gallon. That is just ridiculous. Yeah? 6.6 litres per 100. So, a comparison, that's what a modern day Yaris does. A modern day Corolla with all your new fuel economy, variable timing control and VTEC and all these different things, VVTI, all these different things with these tiny cars, these little 4 cylinders, some of them even 3 cylinders, doing this kind of, mileage. So, somewhere between, 5.5 to 7 litres per 100 is pretty normal depending on how you drive. And this bloke's got a big, heavy, honking V8 doing 6.6 litres per 100. But it gets better than that. Let's keep reading. So he got that number verified by mileage testing. The V8 engine is rather large, and by today's standards, the Chevy V8 has a large 4-inch cylinder bore. Okay, he just goes through the specifications of it. He's saying it weighs 3,600 pounds. I don't know what that would be in kilos. And it's not to be considered an economy car. If we were to apply, this is the kicker. If we were to apply the significant improvement to a much smaller and lighter economy car, you would see much better fuel economy. Let's say you got a factory stock 35 mile per gallon highway car and you were able to achieve the same ratio of gas mileage. You would improve it to 114 miles per gallon. Let's see here. 114 miles per gallon. So he's saying if you were to take a modern car with all the, little 4 cylinders and all the new tech, you could be doing 2 liters per 100. 2 freaking liters per 100. That is ridiculous. And then he goes through and tags a little, shitbox car, a little Toyota Starlet with a 1.3. I'm pretty sure this would be, is this a 4-cylinder or a 3-cylinder? 8 valves, so 4-cylinder. Yeah, so that is incredible. He's talking about we can easily be achieving 2 liters per 100, if not more. You know what I mean? That is just phenomenal. So, anyways, I've been rambling on for ages. Check out there's the bloke Michael. Yeah, there you go, Vanozzi. But yeah, check him out. This is a cool place. There's lots of reading, and he does give extreme detail to the point where I read it and it's kind of in one ear out the other. But anyways, let's get back to my Vapour system. I'm basing mine off his, but his, as you've seen, is carbureted and all kind of set and forget. It doesn't have that real tuning potential. I've actually made a post here explaining to the group that I'm actually planning on doing custom builds as part of this video. And so the idea is, as I mentioned, I can do it all electronically. So here was an image I found on the internet. This gives you a little bit of an idea of what I was actually going for, or at least with my design. So I've got a 4-wheel drive. I've got a Nissan Navara D21. And it's got a 4-cylinder, KA24E is the motor. And I want it to be a 4-wheel drive, and I want it to be powerful. I use it as my daily rig, but I also want the possibility of having, big power with reasonable fuel economy. So I'm kind of trying to get the best of both worlds here and experimenting. So come along with me for the journey. So you can see your snorkel comes through, on the right side here. So this would be the passenger side in Australia. It comes through the air filter, so I want this to all be stainless. I want to have a glass or some type of perspex, sorry, not glass. Panel so I can see what's going on here. This has got massive, I think this is like a 4 or 5, I think it's like 5-inch tube. I wouldn't need anything like that with a turbo. So essentially I'm going to be looking like this but lower. So the idea is I'll have the stainless steel snorkel come through, but instead of swinging around here directly into the turbo, I'll either have the snorkel come through the side here and then go in this way, and then I have the exit out here which will go down the side of the engine, and I'll have my not heat exchanger, my heat exchanger. So the turbo will be roughly in that position, and it'll have a dump pipe, but the dump pipe, instead of being a regular dump pipe, will be a custom made dump pipe / heat exchanger. So my air will go, my cold air will go down to the bottom here, to the bottom of the heat exchanger, then come back up somewhere in this section here, then go through the turbo, and then obviously into the air intake. But I'm really not wanting to have a crossover pipe. I really don't like those. But this image gives you a pretty reasonable idea. This is my engine bay. I'm going to take you guys outside to have a look at that so you can see it clear. But this is again showing the blokes on the internet, and showing them what I'm doing and telling them, if you see anything I can improve on or anything I need to know or anything to help out and advice, just let me know. But I'll just read this out to you. So, planning and collecting parts to build my petrol Vapour system here in Australia on my four-wheel drive. Designed mostly off Michael Vanosi's system on his Camaro. The design will be somewhat like what you see in the image of the Nissan GQ Patrol. That was the image I was, this one here. Stainless steel piping with snorkel and an airbox for off-road use. It'll be AFI, not carby, with a single injector controlled by an ECU, probably a Haltech Elite. The turbo dump pipe will be a custom fabricated dump pipe / heat exchanger. Fantastic fuel economy is the primary goal, but I'm also planning to build this to handle big power ultimately. Factory power is 100 kilowatts, probably at the flywheel, which is nothing. And fuel consumption brand new is 12 litres per 100. But currently, for day-to-day driving, it does anywhere between 15 to 19 litres per 100. The motor goals, so I'll be rebuilding the motor at some point, not initially, ultimately rebuilding the motor with forged internals. So I want to build it to handle 400 kilowatts, which is somewhere around that 600 horsepower mark. It's maybe 650, something like that. But I want it tuned to around 250 kilowatts at the wheels with, big four-wheel drive tires, 32s or 35s, something like that. Normal driving conditions, I'm expecting fuel consumption to be around 6 litres per 100. Now, I got that number just based off Michael, seeing that he got 4 times the fuel economy that he used to have. And so I'm kind of going, 6, 12, 18, 24, because I can... 24 litres, because I can easily get over that 20 litres per 100 if I'm just driving it hard and doing burnouts and going forward driving up hills and just giving her a hard time and having some fun. So I was thinking 6 litres per 100 would be pretty reasonable thing to ask, which again just sounds crazy because we're talking about 250 kilowatts and doing 6 litres per 100. Like, that's totally unheard of. So anyways, it's really cool. And then this is the order to just give you guys a bit of an idea, but I'll probably run it through with you while we're outside as well. But I'm talking a lot, I'm giving you a lot of information, but it's, I don't know about you guys, but I find it easier to find videos on YouTube where people actually explain the detail rather than like going through like old forums and like reading books and people that have just these really long, just really wordy stuff. I just find it a lot more easier and entertaining to watch it on YouTube. So I'm kind of doing it this way for those who might be a little bit like me in that way. So stainless steel snorkel, obviously coming through. The whole system is probably going to be built out of stainless steel, but I'll just have to see. And then it comes into the airbox. After the airbox, directly coming out of that, you're going to have an air temp sensor. Directly after the air temp sensor, I'm going to have an injector, and the injector is going to be put directly into the stainless steel in a similar way that like a water methanol injection kit would work, or how like an O2 sensor would work. You just have a bung, custom made bung that would fit an injector, just one single injector. That would be able to fit in, and then that one injector would then go to the ECU and be controlled and all that sort of stuff. So an air temp sensor, an injector. The injector then goes down to the dump pipe / heat exchanger. It does a U-turn, comes up the heat exchanger, gets hot, vaporizes the fuel, becomes one homogeneous gas, and then it goes into the turbo at the front here. Like I said, it'll kind of curve around, go into the turbo, and then as it's coming out, now boosted air, I'll have another air temp sensor. And I'll just pause there and explain. The key thing with this is getting everything to the right temperature. Whether it's with normal cars, you don't necessarily need all that. You kind of just have an air temp sensor, which is good for the computer, the ECU to figure things out. But even then, it's not really like the most critical thing. And then some cars, and often people put them in 4-wheel drives, is your EGTs. your exhaust temperatures and finding out what that's it. But really all that's telling you is how hot it's getting to give you an idea of how hard you're pushing the car and if, you're going to overheat or, that sort of stuff. The reason why I've got 2 air temp sensors is because I want to know ambient air coming in, but then also once that fuel has been heated and the air's been heated and mixed, I also want to know the temperature then so I can look at the before and after to see essentially how efficient is the heat exchanging in the heat exchanger then going through the turbo. So yeah, and the reason why that's important is because there's a very specific temperature that the fuel and the air needs to be mixed at. I just want to take a minute to explain what I mean by ideal temperatures or specific temperatures required. I'm going to read something that Michael posted. It was something that he wrote and put on the Gasoline Vapour Systems Facebook page. I've changed a few things and just made it relevant to Aussies, but essentially this is the magic sauce. This is what makes his gasoline vapor system or the vapor system that I'm going to build. This is what makes it different to any other, and this is what differentiates between a wicking system or a bubbler system or any other cold vapor system. So I'll read from this and then I want to explain how that affects me and what changes I'll have to potentially make and work out when we get there. The auto ignition point or spontaneous combustion temperature of petrol is 260 to 280 degrees Celsius. Typical exhaust gas temperatures, or EGTs for short, can be between 200 to 400 degrees Celsius, being a small to mid-sized engine, lower load, things like that, or 4 to 800 degrees or even higher for bigger engines, V8s, high performance motors, high load, turbocharged, supercharged, anything that's really working hard, which is obviously what I plan to be in that category, being turbocharged. The exhaust gas temperatures entering the heat exchanger are moderated by the liquid petrol and air mixture that is also flowing through the heat exchanger in the opposite direction to exhaust gas flow. The air and petrol mixture becomes cold due to an evaporative cooling effect caused by the first stage of vaporization of the liquid atomized petrol particles into the ambient airflow. The first stage air and fuel mixture gets down to approximately 7 degrees Celsius, which is just after the carburetor but before the heat exchanger. When the cold air and petrol mixture flows through the tubes of the heat exchanger at high velocity, it counteracts the heat of the hot exhaust gases flowing through the heat exchanger in the opposite direction. The air and petrol vapor mixture becomes a single homogeneous mixture and reaches a temperature of 130 to 160 degrees Celsius when flowing through the 30 tubes of the heat exchanger. This temperature of the air and petrol vapor mixture is not even close to the auto ignition point of petrol, being approximately 100 degrees lower. So spontaneous combustion cannot occur. The exhaust gas temperature is then reduced in the exhaust pipe after exiting the heat exchanger to approximately 80 degrees Celsius. Essentially, what all of that means, I know it's kind of a lot perhaps to take in. Essentially what that all means is we're trying to get a single homogeneous mixture and get that air-fuel mixture to a temperature between 130 and 160 degrees. So when I say I need 2 air temp sensors through my system, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're testing for and trying to achieve. So that's why we'll have 2 of them. And of course, we'll have to make changes to essentially achieve that marker of approximately 150 degrees. Now, if you could imagine, Michael's got a V8. It's a bigger engine. It's probably putting out more heat. And then he's got a bank of 4 cylinders to heat the exchanger and a bank of 4 cylinders to spool the turbo. Whereas I've got 4 cylinders in total, which will, instead of having dedicated purposes, mine will be dual purposes, both spooling the turbo first as it comes out of the engine, and then obviously through the heat exchanger dump pipe. And so I'm imagining, because of those few factors, my EGTs will be lower than what he will be, and so I might not be able to get my mixture to that 150 degrees that we need it to. So we'll have to work that out. I'm imagining I'll need a bigger heat exchanger than what he uses. Of course, we use plenty of heat wrap to contain that heat, but essentially we'll work that out. But I just wanted to point out those few things there because that's a very specific part and an important part. But aside from that, let's continue on with how I'm planning to make my build. That information can then go into the ECU and we can do tuning and whatnot according to that, and like I said, find out efficiencies. Then the air would then go across hopefully the front of the engine into, through I should say, a MAF or a MAP, mass airflow sensor, or an mass absolute pressure sensor. Then it will go through that into the plenum or intake. I'm hoping to get a decent plenum, especially for the bigger power situation. Obviously, it then goes through the engine, is combusted, and then back into the turbo, where obviously it then goes out, spins the turbo, goes through the dump, and then into the exhaust. So yeah, that's the general flow of how things will work. At this point, it's all theory, but I'm currently collecting parts and bits and pieces to kind of, make it all work. Just to show you another image of kind of what I'm expecting things to hopefully look like. Again, you've got a snorkel here. This is actually a Navara, but this is a D22. Essentially, it's the same car. It's just got some stuff that looks a bit different in terms of the cosmetics and appearances and the engine. This is a diesel. But the idea is, we'll have a snorkel come through on the passenger side into an air box with a clear top, and then the air will come down and then drop down toward where the the front diff tail shaft is, front tail diff shaft, down toward there and obviously do its thing. So yeah, that's this is what it's going to look like. This is JMax Engineering. They're a guy that a company that does some really cool stuff here in Melbourne, and these are becoming quite popular. You see on any modified four-wheel drive, if someone's got the change, they'll get one of these mint looking systems. They're all stainless steel or powder coated, and they just look great. So just got these images from there to give you a little bit of an idea. And here obviously you can see it then drops down into the turbo. Whereas I'll come down into this section down here, do a U-turn, then come back up to the turbo. But anyways, let's go see how this is going to work in the car. Head back outside to the garage. All right, so this is the rig. So this is the current setup. I've just got a kind of ram hot air intake. Well, it's probably not too hot, hopefully, with air coming through. But this is the system, and as you can see here, there's plenty of space for activities. Lots of room to do a turbo conversion. It's really awesome because on this side, it's there's stuff going on here. It's not crazy, but it's it's full enough. But this side, you just got all of this space to do a turbo conversion. Unlike you blokes in America, where you've got your brake master cylinder just there on the firewall, it's a lot harder for you because things are a lot tighter. So we're blessed in that way. As you can see, I've just got extractors on there that have been wrapped. But so the idea is I'll be custom building a manifold. I've got some of the stuff there. I'll show you in a sec. Custom building a manifold and getting my turbo in place there, and then like you saw on the internet, a snorkel come through. So I'll be doing like a cleanup, an emission. Oh, me freaking dog has got out. Ollie, come here. How did this dog get out? How did you get out? And you're muddy. You're muddy. Why are you muddy? How did you get out? How did you get out? Tell me. Come here. Stay. Stay. Wait. Good dog. Okay. So, I'll be doing an emissions delete, just getting rid of all that junk and just clean this engine bay up more, and just, yeah, anything that's not needed won't be there. And eventually when I do the new ECU with all of that, I might contemplate doing a new wiring harness if it's not too hard. It kind of seems like it is, but then I watched the bloke who made it seem like it's not. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, I want to clean up all this, and then I'd love to have a battery here, secondary battery, and then in this kind of center section have the air box. So obviously the snorkel hopefully come through here into the air box, battery roughly here, and then have that then dumping down there, and then, yeah, coming back up, and then doing its cool thing, and then yeah, boosted air then coming through here, and then hopefully passing just through this section, and then going into, I want to get a new plenum. But look, I'm talking a lot about the stuff that's happening ultimately and in the future. In terms of what it's gonna, how things are gonna be right now, it's gonna be quite simple, and it's just get this thing turbocharged. Just leave it normal, like no vapor stuff. Yeah, none of that. Just get it turbocharged, and have a bit of fun with it, because here's the thing, not made of money. And it's always cool when you go on YouTube and you watch these blokes do awesome builds, and they just splash $5 grand, 10 grand, $20,000 on a build, and it looks awesome and it gets the views, but realistically most of us can't do that. And if you're looking to do a fuel vapor system, maybe you're doing it for the heck of it because it's fun, it's unique, and you're interested in this sort of stuff, and that's cool. But realistically, most people are going, hey, listen, I want to do this because I can save a lot of money each year on fuel. Instead of spending 5 or 10 grand on fuel, you could cut that down by a quarter if it works out the way Michael's has. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of it. You get a pretty decent idea of how the system's going to work, and how I'm going to do it in my case, and you'll obviously be able to take this information and make it relevant to your engine bay, your engine, and package it all that way. So I'll show you some of the parts that I've collected so far. It's not too many, but yeah, I'm getting them bit by bit, and then I'm gonna put it all together. So this is the turbo that I got. To be honest, I don't know much about it. It was given to me by my uncle, so thank you, Sanch. Yeah, this is just a Chinese eBay turbo. So you can check out the number there. But it's roughly equivalent to like a T25, somewhere around there. So it's a decent size. Realistically, it actually could be slightly big for my engine in terms of pretty factory kind of spec and that sort of stuff. But we'll see how it goes. I have watched other videos where they said T2 is just too small. T3 is, T3, T4 is just too big, at least for daily driving. If you want a torque monster and put down some huge power, then big is good. But yeah, for now though, this will do the job, and essentially it'll work. It'll be the bit of a mock-up and test and experiment, and then ultimately I'll probably change out and get something a bit bigger, a bit newer, and yeah, get some of that Fandangle hybrid technology going on. Alright, so I've just pulled the head from the other car. I've actually got a second Navara. You probably maybe just see it out the back there. So I got two of them. They're exactly the same motor, same everything. And yeah, the idea is the other motor's apart pretty much completely. As you can see here, I've got the head, the air intake, and the throttle body there. It's mostly apart, and then the idea was that I would rebuild this motor, have this one, like I said, forged internals, strong headwork, all the stuff. And then once that's built, I would then slap it inside there, and then take that motor, which is just stock and, still healthy and good, but, old, and then put that into the other one. Then I have two working vehicles. But anyway, so this is the head, and what I wanted to show you is essentially the turbo package. I'll be building my own manifold out of steam pipe. So I just bought this on eBay. If you go to metal fab shop, not fab, well, maybe a fab shop, but if you've got a metal supply, you'll be able to find this stuff. This is the long radius, so you can get short radius and long radius. I think the long radius just flow a lot nicer, and a T-piece. So this was, you can get this in heaps of sizes. I think they got roughly like maybe 10 or so profiles. And I got this because it's just going to suit my car. So it'll be you know, welded together like that with trimming and whatnot. And then obviously I've got to make a piece for my turbo flange. And yeah, we'll slap that baby on there and she'll be golden. So anyway, this is pretty much the stuff I got. You know, just a basic boost gauge, and yeah, that's the package. So the way that I calculated what steam pipe I needed, obviously you'll do this, you know, depending on whatever your car is. You can either find on the internet what size your ports are. I had a head, so I could do it, or maybe you can go to a wrecking yard and find your motor. But essentially, I just got my tape and I just measured. You know, what's that? I just went right there and then I measured, and it was like 30, I think it was 39 millimeters from memory. 39 mil. And then I also went to my extractors and I measured those, you know, and I said, sorry, I should go like this. And then I said, all right, what's that? And then they were, so maybe I had 40 mil, and then these ones were like 38 or 39 millimeters. And then I just went, yeah, online. Actually, I got these from eBay. These were eBay special. And I just found something, and I'm pretty sure these were 40 mil internal. So it was pretty much, it's pretty much perfect. So anyways, if you're wanting to do a turbo conversion, you'll be able to, you know, watch these videos. If you're wanting to, yeah, do it, then you can kind of follow along. So, like I say, initially this will just be a turbo conversion, very basic. So there'll be no, what's the intercooler? There'll be no intercooler, because, like I say, I'll be doing the iterations to make this into a fuel vapor. So I'll be adding an intercooler and all that piping, but then later, I don't want to be cooling down the air. I'm heating it up. So I'm not going to bother putting that in. Can you hear the rain? Yeah, so it's not going to be intercooled. It's just going to have the turbo and just be direct, super simple. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that's clear. I know it's long. I know I talk like crazy. But like I say, there's, you know, some people, let me just sit this down. You know, some people, you know, just want to watch YouTube and be entertained. I do that sometimes, but sometimes I want to learn some stuff too. And there's plenty of guys that know so much. They've had lots of experience, but then when they make YouTube videos or when they put out content, it kind of, I wouldn't say it lacks. I suppose it depends on your intentions, but I'm always trying to find out all the details, all the specifics, because they can make it sound simple and do some basic thing, but in their head, when they are building, fabricating, calculating, all that sort of stuff, there's a lot more stuff that goes into it. So I'm trying to, you know, save you guys the hard yards and document this whole process. So yeah, consider this, you know, part one of the build process, turbocharging the car first and ultimately making a fuel vapor system. My name's Nathan. If you didn't know, thanks for watching the video. I hope you find it interesting and that I didn't bore you too much. But if you're watching fuel vapor stuff and if you're watching to the end, I'd say that you didn't find it boring, but rather educational and inspirational. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching so much. All the usual stuff you need to do: like, share, subscribe, and comment if you can. All those little things help the YouTube algorithms to essentially help other people find my videos. So if you think this video is worth, you know, kind of sharing or you know, getting the word out to more people, then definitely do that. If this stuff was kind of a bit over your head, because I'm like talking fast and all this stuff, I totally understand. There's a lot of information to take in. You can check out my YouTube channel. I've got a heap of different videos there that talk all about different fuel vapor systems, what I've done in the past, and yeah, just general car stuff. You can check out my YouTube channel. In fact, I've got two playlists that I've made. One of all my own videos on fuel vapor experiments and stuff like that, and then I've got a second playlist that I've made public for anyone to check out, and that's all the fuel vapor testing, experimenting, even a bit of HHO, hydrogen, you know, cars, anything like that. I made a playlist, so you can check out those too, and that'll give you some more really good. That'll give you some more really good information. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you at part 2.